Aloha, I'm Felicia Miller Johnson, and this is All Intuitive Conversation. Aloha, everyone. Welcome to All Intuitive Conversation. I am excited to have my first conversation with Jevon. So let's go ahead and bring him to the stage. Aloha.
What's going on? What's going on, Felicia? How are you?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I can't complain at all.
Well, look, I am loving that already because what does that kind of get you? Just more of that, right?
Right, right. So might as well take action and change some things while you at it.
Indeed, indeed. Okay, so you and I have never spoken or met before. I just pretty much know what's just kind of like on your LinkedIn profile. So what immediately stood out for me was the live, not loathe.
Yes, indeed.
And I see you have that on your. So tell me more about that. What's it? What does that mean?
So, Live Not Loathe is the name of my company. It's a coaching and speaking firm. So, what we do at Live Not Loathe is we help high achievers design a life they don't need a vacation from through mindset and perception transformations. So, I am a certified mindset coach, a certified life empowerment coach. And what I've
Yes.
done is I've utilized my story and what I've gone through and the adversity I've faced, and I utilize that to have the intuition to help others go ahead and get the life of their dreams and stop living other people's definition of whatever success is and what goals are.
Yes. Okay, loving that. So what's the stuff you've been through?
So a ton. At the age of
Yeah.
17, good question, by the way.
Uh-huh.
So I always say that my journey to where I am now, sitting here in front of you, actually started at the age of 17, because that is when I actually faced 7 years in prison for an assault and robbery charge. By the grace of God, I was able to get out and get a second chance at life instead of serving that prison time. But what transpired while I was in jail, in county jail, was that my mom and my older sister came to visit me. And that visit really changed my perception of what life was. Because before that, I didn't value myself. I had no sense of what worth was. I had no goals. I was just in survival mode. Because, as they say, young black men usually don't make it past 25. So I was 17. So that was weighing on me. I'm like, oh, shit, I might not make it to 25, but I might as well do what
Right.
I have to do to try to get my family straight, because we were poor and just got caught up, right, doing the wrong things, because I thought the main resource was money. When I found out in jail that wasn't, right. Money was actually not what I was supposed to be seeking. I was supposed to be utilizing my compassion, my heart, and my mind, which are invaluable resources that a lot of us don't realize, because we're told that your worth is tied to material things. And if you don't have it, you think you're worth less, right? So
Yeah.
that's when I say that God really opened my eyes up to what resources truly are and the impact that I could make. So after I got out of jail, after serving, I did like a month in jail, and
Mhm.
I got out and I finished high school. I went on, was struggling, trying to find my way for a few years, worked 2 full-time jobs, just trying to stay out of the streets, right? But it wasn't getting me anywhere. So at the age of 22, I went ahead and signed up for the Army Reserves. Now, this is where I learned so much, right? I learned so much about myself, because the Army, they always say the Army, the military breaks you down and builds you up. Well, in the truest sense, that is kind of what they try to do, because like any muscle, right, you have to go through some strain and stress in order to become stronger. And that's the
Yeah.
philosophy behind that. But what I found, it wasn't really about any of that. It was more so about what I brought to the table, the leadership skills I had, right? How confident I had grown just going through the basic and the training and all that other stuff. The ability to motivate my colleagues and my comrades as we went ahead and performed whatever the task was. So that really showed me what I was capable of. And through the midst of all of that, everyone would be like, "Hey, Jevon, you should be a motivational speaker. You always get us riled up. Before we got a mission, you got this speech going." I'm like, "Hey, man, that's actually not a bad idea, but I wanted more, right? I wanted
Uh-huh.
to do more." So that's the idea. Coaching actually came to me after years, right? Years and years
Mhm.
of hearing this. And in 2016, I deployed to Afghanistan. So one day I was over there. I worked in IT, and I was just on the computer, just like, what, this is calling me for some reason, right? This is
Mm.
calling me. And I found coaching, just searching like, what can you do other than a motivational speaker? And I found coaching, and it really resonated with me. So I started the company in 2017, right? Live
Mm-hmm.
Not Loathe was formed. Little did I know that an event that happened on Veterans Day of 2016, a suicide bomber detonated on the base that I was at, Bagram Air Force Base, and we were all lined up for a Veterans Day run. Now,
Mm-hmm.
maybe he was about 300 meters from where I was, but he detonated, and I was like, "What the?" I didn't know. I just kicked in the high gear because that's what we're trained to do,
Military. Mm-hmm.
right? Military, right? So we're getting people to the hospital, right? I'm doing patient triage, patient administration. But I was also a part of what they call the remains cleanup team, where you go out after the event and you pull security and you go ahead and pick up the remains of the bomber and the victims, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what really impacted me was the fact that I was treating this suicide bomber the same way I treated my comrades who had killed, wounded, or injured in some way, right? So that affected me. I didn't know at the time, but when I came home, I suffered from severe depression. Now, this is like 8 months later that this hit me, right? Severe depression,
Yeah.
PTSD, suicidal ideations, right? So I remember calling my sister one day, my older sister, and I'm just crying. I'm just complaining. I don't even know I think what I was saying was intelligible, right? I didn't even know what I was saying. But I knew at that point I had to get help myself. And I had never done this. I had never sought therapy. I had never sought coaching or any of that. So I put Live Not Loathe on hold. And then I went ahead and got my own therapy and my own coaching. So
Mm.
in the midst of that, I also saw that there wasn't many people in this space who looked like me, right? Many Black men who would be able to associate and have empathy for what I've gone through or what I've been through. So I decided to start it myself and be that guy that people can come to, right? Who has that intuition, who's been through some things, and who's not serving from just sympathy, but I have empathy for my clients.
Mm. Dude, like that is a story. That is a
Yeah,
testimony for
yeah,
sure. From jail to, you know, deciding to go into the military and dealing with that, and then suicide bomber and all of that. So I was, shuffling in the energy. And so of course when you were talking the financial constraints in the
mm-hmm.
beginning, like, we got to get this dough, this money, my family's got to survive, and just
Right.
dealing with that. And then Angel of Balance had also came out, but hadn't gotten that quite message from that. But then the self-worth, like that also just kind of
Mm.
came out as well about, the trigger statement is talking about here I'm discussing, but the true statement is I'm a miracle. And I'm like,
Wow.
dude, you are a miracle for sure.
I love it.
From you got out of jail. I mean, literally, that is the truth of it. I am a miracle. And that is a miracle story, from having that charge and having to only serve a month,
Right.
right? And to not, dying near a suicide bomber. Like,
Yeah,
absolutely. And so it's like saying,
absolutely.
okay, please be gentle and love yourself. Provide your body and mind with what is truly needs to carry on with your journey. And that was like resonating in line with what you were talking about, saying, okay, I need to get some help. Like,
For sure. For sure. You know, it's almost like we're, a lot of us are taught that you just got to push through. You just got to keep pushing, keep going.
mm,
Well, eventually, if you keep pushing, that causes issues because you're not dealing with what you're trying to push through. So that's what I learned, right? On that self care is not selfish; it's actually a necessity. So I love
mm-hmm.
that card right there.
Yes, because I did not serve. My dad served, and my husband served in the army. But now, so basically from womb for me to
Right. You
married life,
served. You definitely
right?
served.
Like,
The family serves too, for
exactly,
sure.
the term. But I know the resonating of the whole. That's where the doing attitude came in for me. It was like putting that flag on top of the mountain. Let's get this job
Hmm.
done. We don't have time for all these emotions. And in a way, that's I'm just even thinking about you having to, help your comrades and all that. Instantly, it was cut off certain emotions, but go into action and do mode, right?
Right,
To, okay, we
right,
got to get this out. We got to get our comrades back. We got to get them help. Now we got to clean up this. And then, like when you said, it's 6 to 8 months later, when you're like, dang, okay, now this is, I'm taking a beat and realizing that this has really, impacted me.
right.
And so it's not, everybody doesn't experience that. And they may be familiar with the military life, PTSD and all that. But there are incidents of people having that type of experience with like everyday type of, what they might happen at work or,
Right.
in their family, like something that could be, triggering for them.
For sure.
So like all of your experiences, right, led up to you, the coach. So tell us about how are you having those conversations with individuals to help them
Sure. So how it
process.
works? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, no, 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 no. Go.
Yeah, I was just gonna say how it works for me is, when someone comes to me and they say, "Hey, look, I don't really," most of them really don't know what coaching is, right?
Mhm,
So what I do is I always have them just go through, just talk to me about who they are, what they've been through, kind of like what you did, right? You had me come in and tell my story a little bit. So I have them do that, and then I talk about, the obstacles that they face when they're actually trying to achieve their goal. And then what we do,
mhm,
what I found is a lot of people they just can't focus, right? Focus is really the key. So
mhm.
I always say, all right, what is your one goal that you want to hit? Because we all are aspirational. We have like 1,000 things we want to do. I'm like, no, you have to focus your energy on this thing, right? So that's one of the things I do. And then I also go through exercises to help align what their values are. Because so many of us we've lost that. Like what really matters to us. We think on the surface is one thing. Like when I was younger, I thought it was money, right? But
Mm,
it wasn't. It was what money could provide, which was the support for my family, which was community when I'm taking care of my people, stuff like that. So that's why I like to go a little deeper and find the root, find the underlying things that really matter to them. And then I want to find their why. Why does any of this mean something to them? So I do
mhm.
this exercise called the 5 whys, right? The surface level is, why do you want this goal? And then they'll say something. And I'm like, okay, so why does that matter? And I just keep drilling down. And that typically is the root reason, right? And that, like I said, a lot of people, we just know the surface level. We don't really know what we're looking for. And purpose
Mhm.
is the driver for human beings. We are purpose driven individuals, and a lot of us have lost our purpose or we may have never known it. So it's very important that we pinpoint that thing. Because if you've noticed, like especially nowadays, there's a lot of people committing suicide, unfortunately. And it's because a
Mhm.
lot of us lose our sense of purpose. If you feel like you have nothing to live for, right? Even if you may, unfortunately, people take their lives when they feel that because they start to feel like either they're a burden to other people or the world would
Yeah.
be better off without them. So I like to do shift that on its head, right? That's why I call my company Live Not Loathe. I like to take that dread of the day of your life. I like to identify a reason why you should actually go through life with joy, right? Joy
Yeah.
filled. And I like to say, okay, we're no longer looking at the negatives and focusing on the negatives, which is the loathing part. We are living. We are focusing on the positive. We're focusing on our strengths. We're utilizing that. We're focusing on true resources, not the material things. We're focused on the internal, right? Because we are
Yes.
all unique in some way. And I like people to find their uniqueness and embrace that, right? I notice a lot of people use words like weird or they are self discount themselves in some way. They'll
That was
belittle
so
themselves in some
crazy.
way, right? So I noticed that. So I'm like, what? Every time before you say something, you provide a disclaimer, right? That's a lot of people do that. Like, oh, I know this may sound weird, but or something like that. So I say,
Mhm.
don't explain, just be you, right? Be your authentic self. And then a lot of people find that so freeing. That's why I always say design a life you don't need a vacation from, because it's a lot more freeing to be your authentic self and live your definition of success than to have to put the mental and emotional constraints of being a people pleaser and living for other people.
Yes. Okay. So now I know what this other card was talking about. The message came through because you kept using the word focus, focus,
Yes, focus,
focus, focus,
focus.
and it was like that's what she's doing. like she is focusing on this right here in this vase. Like, what is this? And she's got her eyes like connected with that. So it's like,
Yes,
oh,
I love
okay,
it.
got
Mindfulness.
it. Mindfulness.
Mindfulness.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so with that and what you're doing with the coaching and the individuals, so what is it that you deal with today that still brings a little fear, uncertainty, and doubt for
I
you?
mean, I deal with a lot on a daily basis. You know, every day I have to decide that I'm going to win because I still suffer from my depression, the PTSD, the anxiety. You know, I still have these things, and I have to go ahead and process. Is this rational? Right? Why am I feeling this way? And then I have to implement the coping mechanisms that I've learned over the years to ensure that I'm doing things in a positive light because I know what it's like to go negative. I used to
Mm,
struggle with, alcohol abuse, all these things trying to just numb the pain when actually I needed to address the pain. So I still deal with a lot of those things.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, see, what I like is the fact, dude. Okay. Um, is that you can admit those things. One of the things we talk about is that, as a role as coaches, sometimes people can just assume that we have it all together,
Right,
right? Like we
right.
no longer have any problems because we're out here coaching individuals on this, right? And so it's like, so this week for me, it's been a lot. Did you see the Super Bowl this weekend?
Yes, I seen a little bit of it. I was actually moving during the
Okay,
Super
look,
Bowl, so I was
did
like screaming a
did you
little
see the
bit.
halftime show? Let me clarify.
I
Let me
rewatched it. I didn't see it live, but I did watch it. I was like, okay, I'm
okay.
feeling it. The
Yeah.
collaboration.
Yes. So it is like so everybody's been talking about like music and like how that all just went. And so um Emmanuel was like, okay, pull out the music deck for Jevon. So I was like, okay.
Okay.
Um and so you were just talking about alcohol abuse and all the struggles that you had with, and you got Amy Winehouse.
Oh, wow. Makes
And,
sense.
and Amy Winehouse, as you know, she had a whole song about not going to rehab. And like, no, 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 like I'm not doing it. And
Right,
was a great artist, had these songs, but then succumb to her addictions and kind of thing in her life.
right,
And so it says, so what is her attitude? Her attitude was learn to love your truant heart. And it said her lifestyle, honeymoon should last a lifetime. Meaning as though when you go out and you're enjoying that life, it's new, like that should last your whole lifetime, not just those 7 days
right.
of a life. And then the inspiration talks about treat your scars as your best feature. And it's like
Mm,
that so aligns with you having had quote unquote what they would talk about, these scars in your life that has now transformed into you being able to help others
right.
on their journey, right? So they can not loathe their life but live like this whole life of a honeymoon. It's joyful, it's peaceful, like okay, I'm committed to doing this. And
Yes,
so
indeed.
it is like amazing because clearly you're aligned with the work that you're supposed to be doing in that regard. So with that, so the honeymoon, a lot of times we're looking forward. What is it that you are focusing on in your future?
I focus on compassion. Everything I do is I'm doing it with compassion, right?
Mhm.
My goal in life is to leave the world better than it was when I came in, right? And to do that, I want to lower the number of how many people struggle with self-esteem. Right now, it's at 85% of people in the world struggle with self-esteem. I
Mm.
want to cut that in half by the time that God calls me home. And that
Yeah.
is an ambitious goal, and that's why I like it, because I'm all about being ambitious. I'm all about aspiring to be as great as I can be. So everything I do, my goal and my future, my forward thinking self, I want to say, hey, I did everything I could to cut that number in half.
Dude, yes. Okay, so that number in half, it talks about, okay, I was like, I still feel like there's something else with that. Going back to the Archangel of Balance. So it was like, okay, just read what it says. And here's what it says for the Angel of Balance. Like you're wanting to bring things back into alignment. It says
Yes.
being centered and self-honoring in your choices. This loving present holds a pitcher of liquid light in front of the pyramid, reminding you that a strong destiny relies on a solid foundation of personal balance and emotional equanimity. Although things may not have been out of sync in the past, this card is telling you that a great equilibrium is now coming into your life. Remain
Mhm.
conscious about how you are balancing your goals and your physical and emotional energy as well. Whenever you feel yourself getting off center or losing focus, call upon this beautiful angel and bring her intentions into your heart center. Your
Mhm.
intuition will lead you in the right direction, and the angel will guide you to a peaceful and centered approach.
I love that. I love that. And that's so true because it ties into the everyday I have to win thing too, because I do struggle with mental illness, right? Having the depression, PTSD and anxiety and being able to call on that angel, which to me is, God, right? Is my higher
Yes.
power who's saying like, hey, what do I need to do to ensure that I am serving from a full cup myself to make sure I'm charged up so I can, like you said, get that balance and focus on the positives as I help with my people. And it's so cool because I just went to Egypt and seen that the pyramids at the end
You did.
at the end of last year. So
Of
that's dope.
course you did.
So
Because
I
I'm like,
found
I'm
out,
really,
yeah, I found that funny.
but see, that's how it aligns. It's like the
Yes,
focus because to me, I was like, okay, this, but it's like what you need to see it and to hear, but you just have to keep having that conversation and keep going. So it's no
for
accident
sure.
that you travel to Egypt. So it's just reminding you to continue the focus, continue to have the balance in your life and what that means for you, success
Love it.
and balance for you, and that the whole Amy Winehouse connection to the financial constraint to the self-worth, and that you are a miracle. Indeed,
Thank you.
indeed
Thank you.
you are. So it's a celebration of life. So the last thing that has kind of came through that Emmanuel is asking me to ask you. So there's a guy watching this. What is it that you want him to know, to be like, hey, I'm here to be able to help you, support you, reach out to me? What do you feel that you should say to him?
I want that guy to know that vulnerability is strength. I
Mm.
want that guy to know that we all need help. Every hero needs a guide, right? And in order to truly unlock who you are in the life that you want to live, you need help along the way. Help is the best thing you can get. The strongest thing you can do is say, hey, I don't know how to do this. I need assistance. Or I'm not okay. I need assistance, right? Because that support system can carry you when you are feel like you're not strong enough, right? No one's going to judge you. It's a judgment-free zone and I am here to support, right? And like I said, I couldn't find someone that looked like me when I was seeking that help. And I know how much representation matters. I know how good it feels to have someone who's across from you who you could say, you know what, this is a reflection, right? This is a reflection of who I was,
Yeah.
and this is a person who's gone through some of the similar things that I might have gone through, or they have the intuition to address. So that's what I want to say to them. Like, don't be afraid to reach out, right? If you reach out, we'll talk about some things. It's really a win-win for that person because any conversation, the first conversation you have with me is nothing. It's just about getting that person clarity, getting you real clear so you have an action plan whether you continue to work with me or not. It's not about that. It's about getting them that clarity, sort of like you were talking about in those cards, right? Having them focus in on what matters to them and developing the confidence to say, I'm going for what I want in life and I'm no longer letting other people dictate what my life looks like.
Speak, Jevon. Yes, yes.
Yes, indeed.
Well, so in that last piece, where can they find you? Where can they reach you?
Sure. So I'm on all platforms at Live Not Loathe, spelled just like you see it there. Or you can go to my website, livenotloathe.com, and everything's there, including my books. You can get a copy of these on the website as well. So,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
own your
yeah,
kingdom. Yes, and
right.
all gas, no brakes.
Yes.
Okay.
So these are two books I released on Your Kingdom in September. All Gas, No Breaks came out last month actually. So thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you, Jevon Wooden, for coming to have this all intuitive conversation with me today. And for those of you that have silently watched, maybe didn't even comment or watching on the replay, we are definitely hoping this has found you right where you are and that you are also encouraged to live smart and ascend to new levels of success. Jevon, it has been a pleasure. Hold on tight as we do the outro.
Pleasure, Felicia.